So children, the next one is the different birds will have different eating habits. So all the birds does not eat the same type of food. So different birds will eat different types of food items. That means some birds will eat fruits and seeds and grains, whereas some birds will eat the small fishes and small insects present in water, whereas some birds will eat the flesh of small animals and small insects. So in this way, different birds will have different food habits. So based upon their food habits, and they have different types of beaks. So that is the types of beaks. So children, so based upon the food habits of the birds, so different birds will have different types of beaks. So what are the different types of beaks? So because different birds will eat different types of food items, so that's why they have different types of beaks. So let us see the different types of beaks, that is the types of beaks. The first type of beak is, that is short, hard and horny beak. Short, hard and horny beak. And the second type of beak is strong, sharp and hooked beak. And the third type of beak is hooked beak. Third type is hooked beak. And the fourth one is strong and chisel. That means strong and chisel shaped beak. Strong and chisel. So chisel shaped beak. And another type of beak is broad and flat beaks. Broad and flat beaks. And the next type of beak is, that is broad and short and sticky. Broad, short and sticky beak. And the next type of beak is long and slender beak. Long and slender beak. So long and slender beak. So children, so these are the different types of beaks for different birds depending upon their eating habits. So let us discuss about each type of beak, and I also discuss the examples for the birds having each type of beak. So what is the first type of beak? That is short, hard and horny beak. So children, so some birds, especially sparrow, so example sparrow and pigeon and peacock, so etc. children, so these birds will have short, hard and horny beak. So by using this type of beak, so they can pick up the grains on the ground and they can crush the grains and the nuts by using this type of beak. So next, what is the second type of beak? So that is strong, sharp and hooked beak. So children, if we take prey birds, that means the birds which will eat the flesh of other animals, and the birds which will eat the small insects are called prey birds. And these prey birds will have strong, sharp and hooked beak. The examples for the birds having this type of beak are, that is eagle, vulture, hawk, etc. children. So these are the birds having such a type of beaks. So these are the prey birds, that means they will eat the flesh of other animals and small insects. And these beaks will help us in tearing the flesh of their prey. So by using their beak, they can tear the flesh of their prey, and they can also hold their prey with the help of its beak. And see, the third type of beak, that is hooked beak. So hooked beak, so children, so if you observe the beak of parrot, for example, parrot and parakeet. So children, parrot, and another example is parakeet and etc. So children, so these birds are example for the birds having hooked beak. So these birds especially have hooked beak. If you observe the beak of the parrot, so it is in red color and also it is in the shape of hook. So by using its hooked beak, so they can bite the hard fruits also, and they can break the nuts. They can break the hard nuts and they can bite the hard fruits also. So in this way, so this parrot and parakeet will use their hooked beak so for eating and for biting hard fruits and hard nuts. And also, what is the fourth type of beak? That is a strong and chisel shaped beak. So children, so if you take woodpecker, the example for the bird which is having strong and chisel shaped beak is woodpecker. So if you observe woodpecker, it has a long beak which is in the shape of chisel. So what is a chisel? So generally this chisel is an instrument which is used for carving and cutting the hard objects like stones and woods. So different monuments and sculptures, especially sculptures, will use this chisel to cut the stones and to make sculptures from these stones. So in this way, this type of birds will have also strong and chisel shaped beak. By using this beak, it can tap the bark of the tree. So because the bark of the tree contains insects in it, and it will eat the insects present in the bark of the tree by tapping the bark of the tree. So children, so this chisel shaped beak is helpful to the woodpecker to tap the bark of the tree and to eat the small worms and insects present in the bark. So see the next type of beak, that is fifth one, broad and flat beaks. So broad and flat beaks. So the example for the birds having broad and flat beaks are, that is ducks and swans, etc. So children, have you ever observed the beak of ducks? So if you observe the beak of the ducks, the beak is very broad and flat. And also you observe some holes. You will observe 2 holes on each side of its beak. Those holes are called strainers. So what are these strainers? So when the ducks move inside the water, and they will pick up the small fishes and small insects present in the water. So when it pick up the small insects and small fishes inside the water, so the mud and water also enter into its beak. So these strainers will send out the water and the mud present in the beak outside, and only the small insects and fishes will be remained in its beak. So children, do you understand? So what are the strainers and what is the function of these strainers? So strainers are the small holes present on their beak, and these strainers will send out the water and mud present in its beak, and only remains, these strainers will remain the small fishes and small insects in their beak. So these are the examples, that is ducks and swans are examples for the birds having broad and flat beaks. So children, so the example for the bird having broad, short and stick beak is swallow. Swallow. So if you observe the beak of the swallow, it is always remained in open. Why? Because so its beak is broad, short and sticky. That's why it fly around and around in the air by opening its beak. Because so if it fly around and around in the air, so the insects and small germs present in the air will stuck to its beak and it will enter into its mouth. So that's why it always remains open its beak and fly around and around in the air. So some germs and insects present in the air will stuck to its beak and it will eat that germs and insects. The example for this is swallow. So that is swallow. So children, see the last type of beak, that is long and slender beak. Long and slender beak. So what is the example for long and slender beak? So the example for the birds having long and slender beak is hoopoo. Hoopoo bird. So that is hoopoo bird. If you observe the beak of the hoopoo bird, so it will have a long and slender beak. So this long and slender beak will help the hoopoo bird to collect the insects present in the ground or in the trees. So by using its long and slender beak, it can collect and it can pick up the insects present in the soil, in the ground, and also it can pick up the or collect the insects present in the trees. So children, so these are the different types of beaks. So depending upon the different eating habits of the birds. So there are 7 types of beaks. The first one is the short, hard and horny beak. Example sparrow, pigeon and peacock. And these beaks are also in coned shape. So children, so these are also in the coned shape. And also second type is strong, sharp and hooked beak. Example eagle, vulture, hawk, etc. And the third type of beaks are hooked beak. Example parrot, parakeet, etc. And fourth type of beak is strong and chisel shaped beak. Example for the birds having this type of beak is woodpecker. And fifth type of beak is broad and flat beaks. The example for the birds having this type of beak are ducks and swans. So these beaks will have strainers. These strainers will send out the mud and water present in its beak, and they will keep remaining the only small fishes and insects in their beaks. And the sixth type of beak is broad, short and sticky beak. So children, it is sticky beak. So that's why the example is swallow. And the seventh one is long and slender beak. Example, hoopoo bird. So these are the different types of beaks based upon the different food habits of birds. And so children, the next one is claws and legs. Feet and claws.